Adfo Live zijn natuurlijk niet alleen maar Nederlandse big shots uit de reclamewereld, ook enkele buitenlandse gasten zijn er. Paul Feldwick, nice meeting you. In your talk you gave us a little overview of the history of advertising. What's the biggest challenge modern agencies have or need to deal with?
I think there are plenty of challenges, but what I was focusing on this morning is that the media landscape is changing such a lot with internet advertising and with...
But it is for a few years right now.
It has, and I don't think we've got on top of it. I think it's been changing for a few years, but I think people are coming to it without without a proper theory of how advertising works.
Yeah.
And that's what I've tried to explain in my book.
And why do we need to look back?
We need to understand where our ideas come from. So you'll hear people talking all about impressions, say, or impact when they talk about the internet.
Yeah.
And actually these are very simple, very primitive ideas.
Yeah.
They're actually not talking about relationships, say. They're not talking about subconscious processing. They're not talking about a lot of other ways in which advertising works.
Yeah.
And unless we understand those possibilities, we'll not make the most of the new media. Indeed, we may even shoot ourselves in the foot because we will be so irritating and annoying in our quest simply to multiply impressions that everybody gets ad blockers and the game's over anyway, to put it crudely.
So advertising agencies need to get back at the core.
They need to get back, everybody needs to get back to understanding that this is about building relationships, that this is about charm more than it's about beating people over the head. Or it may be about giving people information, but if so, you have to find the right way to do that, and you have to give people the information when they want it, not when you want to give it to them. So these are all the kind of things that I don't hear being talked about enough. And as you say, we've had 20 years so far to think about these things, but I'm not.
That's quite long.
Making a great deal of sense of them.
Last questions. In your talk, you said there's a lot of agencies make a lot of bullshit, but you called it humbug. What's a humbug?
Humbug is a word that P.T. Barnum, the great showman, used to mean, ballyhoo, show business, nonsense, and to some extent deceit. But he said, actually, it doesn't matter if you deceive them as long as at the end of the day they feel they got value for money. And it's that sort of naive, ebullient showmanship that I think actually a lot of successful advertising has always had behind it. And I think we should be less embarrassed about acknowledging that, because very often advertising isn't art, it isn't science, it's just show business.
Thanks, Mr. Feldwick. Enjoy your stay in Holland.
It's a pleasure.